So first and foremost, it's an IDE, integrated development environment, right? Which means you get a whole lot of stuff that you can do in one window. Right? Because when we develop applications, we use a programming language, in Java or in the programming language. We make use of a lot of different libraries, and then our application in itself talks to other applications and other software, right? So, for example, we may have a database server running somewhere, we may have an application server running somewhere, so we access these different software. So what do? We write some code, we do Alt-Tab, go to the other screen, write some SQL queries, again Alt-Tab, we go to application server admin console, do some changes, again we do Alt-Tab, So we keep on flipping through screens. So that is one thing that NetBeans definitely avoids, that I'm going to show you in a moment. Other thing, when we talk only about programming, there are a bunch of stuff that we do. It's not just writing a program, we need to compile it, we need to debug it, and we need to see the behavior of the application. So, in the traditional way of development, so people like me who were working on Java, let's say 8 to 10 years back, what we used to do, we used to have one window where we had the VI editor, we would write the program, do an Alt-Tab, go to the terminal, do Java C to compile, and then again do Java to run. Right? So, it used to be a pretty cumbersome thing to do. Right? Now we live in a time when we want everything instant. Right? So keeping that in mind, it becomes even more essential for us to use an IDE today. So as an IDE, or integrated development environment, think of it as a tool, one tool for all. We all know about Swiss knife, right? So if you have one Swiss knife, you don't need a separate knife, a screwdriver, bottle opener, right? So that means that the IDE can be compared to something like a Swiss knife, right? Although you can take Swiss knife in plain these days, but you can carry NetBeans along with your laptop, right? Okay, that was a bad joke. So it's open source, it's free, so you don't pay anything to use it, yes? Oh, okay. So you don't have to pay anything to use it. Okay. You don't have to do an extra effort or anything. How many here know the website www.google.com? Google. Oh, okay. How many here know Google? Great. How many here have managed to write Google without getting the spelling wrong? Everyone knows the spelling as well? Yeah. So you can just go to Google, type NetBeans, and upload it. It's as simple as that. Right? It's free, it's open source, you don't have to fill up a form, nothing. It's modular in architecture. Right? Now the problem is, when you have a really, big tool, a tool that has a lot of things, right? Sometimes it itself can be a problem as well. Because you're trying to figure out, well, I don't actually need the bottle opener. I don't actually need the nail cutter here. I just need the screwdriver and the scissor and only those bits, right? So in NetBeans, you can actually remove the things that you don't want, that you don't use. Okay? So because NetBeans itself allows you to develop applications in different languages. You can develop in Java, in PHP, in Ruby, a lot of the other languages, C++, a lot of other languages. When we talk about Java, you can develop applications that run on the desktop. So you double click, there's a nice GUI that comes. You can develop applications for the web. You can develop applications for mobile phones. You can design applications, design blueprints using UML that I'm going to again talk about later. So there's a bunch of things that it lets you do. Okay? So you have a pretty heavy tool with you. But let's say you develop only desktop application. So you don't need the rest of the things, and you don't want the tool to be that heavy. So you can remove those things, because those exist as modules, as plugins. So because of its architecture, you are able to remove the things that you don't want, and you can add things that you want in your day-to-day development. Okay? Runs on all platforms. Now for me, this is, at least today, an important requirement. No matter what software I use, I want it to run across all platforms. Okay? Because does everyone in this world has a Macintosh? No. Does everyone in this world uses Windows?
No.
Linux? Solaris? We all have our favorite operating systems, right? And I'm not here to find which one is good, which one is bad. Right? The way I see it, we are all entitled to make our own choice. Right? But if we have to use the software on top of our operating system, I would like to use something that runs on all these systems so that, I don't get stuck. So it shouldn't be the case that if I'm used to listening MP3s using Winamp, and tomorrow if I have to work and in my office they have Linux, I should know how to use another MP3 player as well. Right? So NetBeans runs across all platforms, it's platform independent. So that was NetBeans as an IDE, as a tool. Now what NetBeans is also is a platform for developing rich client applications. So what do we mean by rich client applications? So how many here know about Photoshop? About Photoshop? A lot of people, right? Now let's say some of you people here come up with a brilliant idea of creating a better software than Photoshop. Right? It's possible. There's always a beginning, there's always a start. So let's say 4 students here in the university sit together and say, you know what, we can create a better Photoshop kind of software. Right? So what does Photoshop do? It does graphic manipulation. Right? So to develop that sort of kind of a software, you need to create a nice tool, nice GUI. Then you need to have various paints and palettes with various controls. So you need a color palette, you need different brush, different frames, so on and so forth. Right? But even before you start writing the code to do those things, you have to spend a lot of time and effort to design the GUI itself. Right? So you may start thinking, okay, let's create the next Photoshop, and it's 2 months, and you see, you've not written a single line of code that's actually related to what you want to do. Why? Because the whole 2 months you spent time designing the GUI itself. Designing the menu bar, the toolbar, the status bar, so on and so forth. So instead of doing that, instead of reinventing the wheel, what you can do is you can build on top of something. So when I mentioned NetBeans has a modular architecture, so you can just remove all the modules from NetBeans. So what you end up with is just a frame, a nice windowing system. You can add things to your menu bars, you can put buttons on your toolbars, and then you directly design your palette straight into the window system. Right? So it saves time, it saves effort. Okay? So it's an IDE where you use it to develop applications. It's a platform where you develop applications on top of NetBeans. Okay? And it's also a community. Why is community important? Today, so yesterday I was having a conversation with a student, and he told me that whenever he has a problem, he goes to his teacher, his lecturer. So the standard answer he gets is, go do a search on Google. Right? And more often than not, you get your answer. Okay? Do you think when you do a search on Google for a particular problem, it's Google who has provided you the answer? It's someone else who has provided you the answer that Google has indexed. Right? So who are these people who provide you with answers to your problems? Right? So they are people like you, but who work in community. Right? For example, if this gentleman here faces some problem, right? So he spent 1 week trying to figure out how to solve it. And once it's solved, right? What he does, he says, okay, just so that no one else was 1 week's time, let me document it. So he puts it online, well, if you have this sort of a problem, this is how you fix it. And tomorrow if someone sitting in Singapore has a problem, does a search, I can ask, right? So NetBeats as a community is a very vibrant community. There are a lot of people working on it around the world. Right? So we get immediate bug fixes and we get good features that get added on to it. Okay?